Some called it the trial of the century. Others called it a TikTok sensation. Whatever you called it, the trial of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard took hold of the nation. Testimony about domestic violence, private islands, penthouse suites, and substance abuse captured the world's attention. And after 6 weeks, the jury in Fairfax, Virginia, sided big with Johnny Depp. Now, more than a year after the verdict, a new 3-part docuseries from Netflix is shedding new light on the case by asking questions about the internet's role in the trial, the evidence the jury didn't see, and how it all impacted the verdict. Tonight, we're looking back on Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard, here on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much for being with us tonight here on Closing Arguments. I'm Julie Grant, sitting in for Vinnie Politan this week. Tonight, we're looking back on the Johnny Depp defamation case after the release of that new 3-part Netflix docuseries, Depp versus Heard. Have you seen it? I watched it in the middle of the night last night. It's excellent. So here at Court TV, you know how we covered the trial from gavel to gavel. Many of you friends at home were with us when we did it. And still, after seeing that docuseries, many of us here at Court TV were surprised by some of the new territory that the series uncovers. So tonight, we're going to dive into what kind of influence TikTok, YouTube, and social media might have had on this case. And also, some new information and evidence about the trial's most memorable moments that never made it in front of that U.S. jury. Like text messages between Johnny Depp's assistant and Amber Heard, for example, after that flight where Heard says that Depp kicked her in the back in a drunken rage. Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae starts us off by breaking down those text messages.
Another perspective of the Boston plane incident was never seen by the jury. Documents obtained by Court TV reveal text messages exchanged just after that controversial trip. Exhibit number 229, entered as evidence in the libel case in the United Kingdom, was barred as hearsay from the Virginia trial. This text from Depp's phone to his then-wife Amber Heard reads, "Once again, I find myself in a place of shame and regret. My illness somehow crept up and grabbed me." Heard alleges Depp kicked her during a vicious fight on that flight to Boston in May of 2014.
I feel this boot in my back. He just kicked me in the back. No one said anything. No one did anything. It was like you could hear a pin drop on that plane. You could feel the tension, but no one did anything.
Depp denies ever physically assaulting his partner.
I'm sorry, he's sorry, he feels bad, yes, because any other answer, it would turn into World War III.
Heard's attorney aimed to discredit the movie star by presenting text messages like this one from Depp's personal assistant, Stephen Deuters, to Amber Heard. It reads, "Hey, he's up. He's much better, clearer. He doesn't remember much, but we took him through all that happened. He's sorry, very sorry." Later, Deuters writes, "Depp was appalled. When I told him he kicked you, he cried."
You asked Mr. Deuters to communicate with her on your behalf, correct?
I don't know what you're talking about.
After the Boston plane flight, you had Mr. Deuters communicate with Miss Heard, correct?
When I'm asked what to do, I said placate her, just placate her like we always do.
Deuters never testified, so with Depp on the witness stand for the second time, here's what happened when Amber Heard's defense attorney tried to show those texts from Depp's assistant to the jury.
Your Honor, I think you know where I'm going here, and based on Mr. Depp's testimony, I'd ask move for the admission of Exhibit 229.
Your Honor, can we please approach?
Sure. After that sidebar, attorney Ben Rottenborn moves on, and those texts stay out of evidence.
We're We're going to talk some more about all this, and we have great guests on the show tonight to help us do it. I want to welcome in, standing by in London, England, journalist and the author of the book Depp versus Heard, The Unreal Story. Nick Wallace is with us. And in New York City, renowned psychotherapist and the host of the Talking Live and Bite-Sized podcast, Dr. Robbie Ludwig, with us as well. Dr. Robbie and Nick, wonderful to see you both tonight. Thank you for joining us. Oh my, okay. Let's start with these text messages, if we can here. Nick, you've written all about this. You've written about all of the great stuff in your book. Everyone should read it, check it out. But these messages, this was something that we know didn't go in front of the jury and could have very much corroborated Amber Heard's story about the kick in the back. So this message, this is the one from Johnny Depp's assistant to Amber Heard, sent after that Boston flight back in 2014. Stephen Duders is his name. Look what he writes. He writes, "He was appalled when I told him he kicked you. He cried." And the judge, Judge Karate in Virginia, didn't let this in. So the jury never knew about that corroboration. Nick, talk to us about the importance of this, please.
Well, there it is in black and white. You have one of Johnny Depp's closest confidants telling Amber Heard that his employer kicked her, as she had alleged. And I think it's very significant that it wasn't shown to the jury in the US trial. It was released in the UK trial, which I covered in 2020, and it formed part of the judge's conclusion. He quoted directly from those texts that you've just read out and said that he found that as a result of that and the other corroborating evidence, that Johnny Depp did kick Amber Heard in the back. And so it's one of the most significant incidents because it's one of the incidents which has the most corroborating contemporaneous evidence in the form of those texts. Now, as you heard Johnny Depp say, his assistant and he would use words that Miss Heard found favorable in order to placate her. And that was something that he essentially said in the UK, that they would try and just do anything to make her happy, including using words which were disingenuous and didn't carry their true meaning. But the judge completely rejected that in the UK and said that he agreed with Amber Heard that she was kicked in the back by Johnny Depp. And in the words of Amber Heard's attorneys, that if there's one incident of violence, then that makes Johnny Depp an abuser. It didn't make the court in the US, and the jury decided to completely reject all of Amber Heard's allegations as lies.
Right, Nick. And just a point of clarification for you, please, if you know, is it your understanding that Stephen Duders was in fact an eyewitness to the kicking incident?
Yes, he testified in the UK trial, and I think it's very telling that he didn't give evidence in the US trial, because then there would have been a very good chance that Amber Heard's attorneys could have directly challenged him on those texts and the meanings behind him. But he was actually giving evidence in the UK trial, and he said that he saw Johnny Depp raise his foot in a playful manner towards Miss Depp's back, but says that he didn't think he made any contact or a slight amount of contact, but the nature of the kick was nothing like the way that Amber Heard described. So the conflict of evidence in that case, and that was what Johnny Depp said, that he was on the plane and he did remember raising his foot in her direction, but no contact was made. And yet that is not borne out by the text that Stephen Duders sent after the event and Amber Heard's own testimony.
Nick, thank you for all of that. This is really important, as the judge thought just those text messages alone would constitute hearsay and not be allowed in the record for that reason. But if we had the eyewitness testimony, then, as you know, the jury could form an opinion themselves. Speaking of opinions, Dr. Robbie Ludwig, want to bring you in on something. We know we saw the various testimony brought in on both sides of the case from the different psychologists who evaluated Amber Heard, giving very different opinions. And you don't have a horse in this race. And so watching the trial, being able to take in the analysis from both of those experts and just the pieces of evidence, the videos, the testimony. Assess for us, please, what kind of relationship this was that these two had, please.
It's such a good question. When I was watching the trial, it very much seemed to be a mutual abusive relationship. It was unhealthy, it was toxic, and both parties played a role. Now, this idea of mutual abuse is not necessarily a very popular one, but it seemed to be very true from my observations. But I would hear from defense attorneys and divorce attorneys that they felt Amber Heard's presentation just didn't sound true. And I'm not exactly sure what got them to conclude this. I mean, I think that there are gendered biases that go on in the courtroom. And that definitely happened here, where we have kind of the crazy, evil woman trope that very much was alive in this case and very much is alive in our culture, where women are not believed. They're seen as crazy. They are easily dismissed. There was a study that found women like men better and men like men better. So women and men can be very harsh on women, and I think that's part of what happened in this case.
Oh, that's fascinating, Dr. Rabi. I want to show another clip to you both that I'm sure you'll remember well. This was the mega pint clip, and where that term we thought, might have come from. It was introduced and discussed on that cross-examination with Ben Rottenborn. Here we see Johnny Depp getting the glass out of the cupboard. He talked about assaulting those same cabinets there. Amber Heard surreptitiously recording here. He gets very upset. Let's listen in to some of the dialogue.
May have been drunk in that video, correct?
There's a possibility of that, yes, sir.
You poured yourself a mega pint of red wine, correct?
A mega pint.
Yeah.
I poured myself a large glass of wine.
Right.
I thought it necessary.
And here we all thought that Benjamin Rottenborn was the one who came up with that term, but actually the Netflix docuseries points out that it was used by Johnny Depp in his testimony in the UK trial. Let me bring back in my guests here. Nick Wallace, let me go to you on this point. Since you watched that trial, you've written all about it. This was something you knew. You didn't need the Netflix series to tell you that.
No, I was there on day one when Johnny Depp gave evidence, and I can read you from the transcript. Sasha Wass, who was the barrister who was representing the Sun newspapers, was trying to quantify the measure that Johnny Depp was pouring, and Johnny Depp actually leapt in to try and help her out. She said, "We saw you pour a sort of," and she stumbled, and Johnny Depp just leapt in and said, "Mega pint," essentially as a joke. I mean, we know he's got a sense of humor. And although this was a very, very serious libel trial, he said it to help her out. And she immediately picked up on this and said, "Mega pint of red wine," which is not everybody's choice for breakfast, is it? And so that phrase mega point was coined by Johnny Depp, who, as we know, has this amazing facility for language. And so when Ben Rottenborn threw it back at him 2 years later in court without any introduction or any contextual remarks, I think he was perfectly entitled to find it funny. And his reaction spoke volumes. And the fact that the phrase mega pint has entered the popular lexicon, I think, tells us an awful lot about how much impact this trial had.
Right, Nick, well said. Excellent points. I've got to talk to you both about this other moment, another one of those viral moments. There were so many. You probably know where I'm going with this. We're going to talk about the grumpy, another Johnny Depp term. He talks about the grumpy on his bed pillow. And Amber Heard, we know, denied being the one who delivered the grumpy. She claimed it was from their dog, Boo. Let's take a look back.
They were making a wonderful point of just how funny it was that I thought that some human being had actually dropped a grumpy, pardon the term, onto the bed.
She had eaten Johnny's weed when she was a puppy and had bowel control issues.
Okay, and the Netflix series points out that in the UK trial, Johnny Depp did give testimony about the dog having those stomach problems. There were instances where the dog had destroyed parts of his home and his belongings, all of that. But it seems that in this trial in the U.S., Nick, it was like all the blame was put on Amber, and Johnny Depp totally dismissed the idea that it came from one of the cute little teacup Yorkies.
I think there are 2 points about this. The first is that the size of the alleged fecal matter on the bed in Johnny Depp's mind and in the mind of his supporters in court, his witnesses in court, could not have come from a dog as small as the teacup Yorkies. That was the point that they were trying to make. But the other side of this is that if this was, as was alleged in court, a practical joke, either perpetrated by Amber Heard or one of her associates on Johnny Depp, how on earth the joke was meant to actually take place? Because Johnny Depp had already left the flat in High Dudgeon, the apartment in High Dudgeon after one of their many arguments, and was not likely to be coming back at any stage before the cleaners got in. So no one has ever explained the motive behind why Amber Heard or anyone associated with her would choose to put this fecal matter in the bed. And so the judge, again, in the UK case, said he found it very unlikely that a human being would have produced it or sourced it in some way, and made reference to the fact that Johnny Depp accepted that his dog Boo had bowel problems. But Johnny Depp was absolutely adamant that the grumpy, as he described it, could not have come out of a 4-pound Yorkie.
Right, I know. It's something. This trial was like nothing we've ever seen. Dr. Robbie, something that came out, and more so from Amber Heard's side of the case, was that she said that, and this is a more serious point for discussion, she said that when Johnny Depp would drink and do drugs, there was a monster that would come out of him. She would acknowledge it was a totally different personality. And wanted to ask you about that tonight in general, please. For any of our friends who are watching this program who might deal with someone who struggles with substance abuse in any way, or some type of addiction, and how they may change and how it affects the family. Would you speak to that, please, Dr. Robbie?
Well, sure. I mean, there are people, when they drink and get drunk or use drugs, can become very angry. It disinhibits them. So any feeling that they tend not to address can come out, or alcohol can make certain people just feel more enraged. So that certainly can happen, and one can see where Johnny Depp, with all of his drinking and drugging, could have been vulnerable to that kind of behavior. But I think what's really interesting here is that they say you never know what goes on behind closed doors. But I think in this case, we really believe that, or the public believed that they did know what was going on behind closed doors. And there's something called a parasocial relationship, where the audience or the people watching really feel that they know Johnny Depp. He's been in celebrity for many, many years. He's very charming, very seductive. And so there was a feeling of Team Johnny very early on. And of course, we saw that play out via TikTok and social media and various memes. And it kind of clouded a lot of the more disturbing issues that we're rediscovering now in some of these reveals.
So well said, Dr. Robbie. That was a perfect segue. We're going to talk a lot more about that in our next hour of the show, or excuse me, I should say our next segments throughout this hour, about the influence that social media and TikTok had on the court of public opinion, or maybe even this jury. Been wonderful having you both tonight. Dr. Robbie Ludwig, thank you so much. Nick Wallace, thank you for joining us from London. Again, I want to mention your book, Depp versus Heard, The Unreal Story. It is outstanding. Be sure to check it out. There's the cover of it. Nick, Dr. Robbie, thank you both kindly. We're going to squeeze in a break, folks. More Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard coming up after this break. And here's a preview of what we've got on tap for you in our next hour. In Harford County, Maryland, mother of 5, Rachel Morin, left for a run on a popular trail on August 5th and was found dead the next day. Police are investigating Rachel's death as a homicide. Today, new information released from law enforcement. We have the latest.
DNA evidence was collected by our forensic services unit. That DNA was analyzed by the Maryland State Police, and it was ran through the National CODIS system. DNA evidence this DNA evidence has come back as a match.
A man married 6 times.
4 of his wives died under mysterious circumstances.
Eccentric widower Thomas Randolph,
charged with the murders of his wife and the man he allegedly paid to kill her.
A 2017 conviction overturned.
The plan between Mr. Miller and Mr. Randolph was to kill Sharon.
Now he faces a jury once again.
The Widower Murder Trial. Live coverage weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
It has to be at least $1 statutory damages and up to whatever you feel the damages should be.
They found someone, they just didn't put the amount, but someone got defamation.
Oh my God, guys. In about 5 minutes is the verdict.
I'm going to throw up.
Here we go. The moment of truth.
Question: the statement was false. Answer: yes. Due to circumstances surrounding the publication of the statement, it conveyed a defamatory implication to someone who saw it other than Mr. Depp. Answer: yes.
Oh my God. At least Amber looks nervous, like for real. She's a very bad actress.
We love you, Johnny. We love Johnny. I love you, bro.
Woohoo, Johnny!
I do find that the jury's verdict is unanimous. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes your service in this case.
The Johnny Depp Amber Heard case was all over the internet and, of course, all over Court TV, too. Hopefully you watched it here, right? It happened last year, and we know that the brand new Netflix docuseries is shedding a new light on it. The series just dropping this week. It's Depp versus Heard, and it examines the social media frenzy that we know was going on during the trial.
This has moved away from a news story or a lawsuit, and it's transformed into a cultural moment.
People are live tweeting. People are live streaming. Where does it end?
The engagement is phenomenal.
Videos can be very easily manipulated and republished.
We're being influenced by bots interacting with bots.
Johnny Depp is clearly winning right now in the court of public opinion.
I've never been so scared in my life.
She's acting.
After the verdict, Amber Heard told Savannah Guthrie in an exclusive interview on Today, quote, "I think the vast majority of this trial was played out on social media. I think that this trial is an example of that gone haywire, gone amok, and the jury is not immune to that." How could they not? I think even the most well-intentioned juror would have been impossible to avoid this. Let me bring in my guests now, who were both featured in the new Netflix series because of their online coverage of the Johnny Depp case. I'm pleased to welcome, joining me from Los Angeles, California, attorney and trial consultant Dina Saig-Dahl. And also in Los Angeles, family law litigator and TikTok lawyer Lamor Mojdahi Azad. Wonderful to have you ladies. Thank you so much for being on the program tonight. It was nice to see you in the documentary. I was watching it the middle of the night last night after I got done working, and was happy to see you both. And so let's reminisce together now, talking about first the effect on the public opinion that you think the wild social media coverage might have had. Dina, you're nodding. I'm going to go to you first, please.
I mean, I certainly think it amplified it. I mean, this was a live trial, so quite a bit of the people who were interacting with the social media were also watching or listening. They may not have been able to watch the entire day. So I think they kind of got pieces that they wanted and then would catch up, so to speak, on social media. So much more so than maybe traditional news sources. And I think that was maybe the biggest difference here. There's many trials that have been covered, maybe Kyle Rittenhouse, et cetera, that were more covered on maybe traditional news sources, where here, I think a lot of the viewers would catch up on social media. And I think that is maybe what the biggest difference was on this trial.
I appreciate it, Dina. Lamor, to you on the point about whether this jury could have been influenced. We know it's possible as they weren't sequestered. What are your thoughts on the likelihood of that? Why or why not, please?
I think it's about a 90% chance that in 2022, you put a certain number of human beings in charge of making a decision that is surrounding something that is on television 24 hours a day, on social media 24 hours a day. It's in their pocket. They have breaks, weekend breaks, 10-day breaks. I think there's a 90% chance they were influenced by what was on social media and public opinion overall.
I'm with you, Lamor. We know that there were so many things that were funny and became memes and that were really entertaining. I mean, we were just talking about the Grumpy, we were talking about the Mega Pint. You know, all of those things got a lot of laughs and, you know, it's harmless fun. But then there were also the very disturbing, shocking, sinister allegations that were brought into this trial. One of the most, arguably the most stunning of those came from Amber Heard when she testified and claimed that her then husband, Johnny Depp, had sexually assaulted her with a bottle of liquor during a trip to Australia.
The next thing I remember, I was bent over backwards on the bar, meaning my chest was up. I was staring at the blue lights and my chest was on this, my back was on the countertops. And I thought he was punching me. I felt this pressure. He on my pubic bone. And I thought he was punching me. And I remember that he's just not wanting to move because I didn't know if it was broken. I didn't know if the bottle that he had inside me was broken.
Now, in contrast, Johnny Depp said that that night in Australia, he was the victim of domestic violence at the hands of Amber Heard when she threw a liquor bottle at him, causing part of his finger to be severed.
She threw the large bottle, and it made contact and shattered everywhere. I looked down and realized that the tip of my finger had been severed.
You know, I can remember watching back these bits of testimony and at the time seeing it live as we were playing it and thinking to myself, they are so fortunate with all of these awful, bad fights that thank goodness nobody died. I mean, we know domestic violence can get really, really ugly, and thankfully everybody lived to tell about it. I'm wondering if some of the seriousness of these issues could have gotten lost on social media with all the memes and the discussion, and especially the overwhelming support of Johnny Depp and the hatred that was being spewed at Amber Heard. Dina, did you see much of this in what you've seen, you know, in comments and viewer interaction? Did the seriousness get lost?
I don't think so, actually. I have to say that a number of people who said they were survivors of domestic violence who commented on my video was massive. So many people wanted to tell me their story. And so they weren't ignoring the fact that this was an allegation of domestic violence in the trial and a serious matter. They just didn't believe her. And they would say why, because they would compare it to their own stories of survival. So I don't think that people, I mean, obviously, I'm sure there were, when you could see that documentary, they show a lot of memes, but I found that there was quite a bit of response of people who definitely knew that this was a very serious allegation. At the end of the day, though, they just didn't think it happened.
Gotcha. Lamore, let me ask you, please, in the docuseries, Netflix shines a light on the support that came for Amber Heard online and how it seemed that if folks were supporting her, they were getting attacked by what seemed to be Depp supporters. And the docuseries raises the question of whether there were bots purchased to do some of the attacking and some of the online campaigning. Interestingly, Amber Heard had in her counterclaim initially a claim about bots that she was trying to bring here, saying that she was smeared online by Johnny Depp and his team, you know, through the purchase of bots. And the judge didn't allow that claim to proceed, so we never heard it. I'm curious, Lamore, what did you see from your viewers and followers? Was anybody shut down if they were supporting Amber Heard?
Yes, even the perception that you were staying neutral resulted in a massive, massive amount of trolls, not bots, real people acting like trolls, saying that they're going to unfollow the creator, saying that the creator is supporting an abuser. The idea that maybe these two people were in a toxic, mutually abusive relationship really didn't cross anyone's minds, because they really looked at it as, I love Johnny Depp. I know Johnny Depp. Who the hell is Amber trying to come in? She's a gold digger. She's trying to become famous. She was trying to become famous when she married him. They just didn't like her. They loved him. And any mention of Amber or any neutral language got you unfollows and got you horrible comments.
Wow, I appreciate that so much. I remember seeing it. I mean, I really do, and many times. And I remember someone dug up a video from, gosh, with the UK trial when we just touched on it one night in a segment, you know, and everything said was very neutral. I remember seeing this wave online, and I'm thinking, what in the world is this? So something I definitely noticed, and it was interesting that it was brought up in the docuseries. I want to ask you both, before we let you go, anything that really surprised you watching the docu? I'm assuming you both have seen it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Dina, anything that surprised you?
No, nothing surprised me yet, but just really quickly about that point about the trolling and the hate. I actually had a few TikTok videos banned by TikTok saying they were bullying when there was absolutely nothing bullying about it. I posted it on other forms of social media. And so that was a pro maybe Amber Heard faction trying to get those shut down, which we don't hear about that at all. So I don't know how much of it was, again, his huge fan base, but I personally think both parties were trying to get in there and kind of get things mixed up on their side on social media.
Yeah, this case, it was a mess on social media too. Mess in the courtroom, mess on social. Lamore, did anything surprise you in the docuseries?
You know, I wasn't following the case through YouTube, so the clips of a lot of the users on YouTube saying some very outrageous things just from clips or maybe watching it all day, whatever it was. They said things that I personally would never put on the internet because I know it might end up on Netflix or Court TV. But some of the things I saw, they were just things that I just had not seen during the trial when I was covering it. I was mainly on TikTok and my podcast, but the YouTubers really surprised me.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much. Oh, it's been wonderful having you ladies join us tonight here on Court TV. Lamore Mojtahi Azad and Dina Saeed-Dahl, thank you so much for being on Court TV this evening. We're going to hit a break, folks. When we come back, we have another very special guest joining us. Celebrity blogger and columnist Perez Hilton is on the program live next.
Thomas Randolph.
A man married 6 times.
Charged with the murders of his wife and the man he allegedly paid to kill her.
The Widower murder trial. Live coverage weekday mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
These are the cases that captivated the world.
Can keep my life straight. They were killed by their own children.
Court TV Legendary Trials. Go to courttv.com/legendary trials to find out how to watch.
When the allegations were rapidly circling the globe, telling people that I was a drunken, cocaine-fueled menace who beat women, I lost then.
I am harassed, humiliated, threatened every single day. Even just walking into this courtroom, sitting here in front of the world, having the worst parts of my life, things I've lived through, used to humiliate me. People want to kill me, and they tell me so every day. People want to put my baby in the microwave, and they tell me that. Johnny threatened, promised me that if I ever left him, he'd make me think of him every single day that I lived.
Welcome back to Closing Arguments. I'm Julie Grant, in tonight for Vinnie Politan. And with the dropping of the new Netflix docuseries, we're taking a look back at Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard. I am so happy to welcome in a very special guest joining us tonight from Las Vegas. Celebrity blogger and columnist Perez Hilton is on the program. Perez, so nice to see you. Thank you for making time for us tonight.
Of course, just right now, hearing the two of them speak again was giving me PTSD. It just took me back to that trial, and you know, my job is to pay attention to these things, so it consumed my life for far longer than I would like to admit.
I hear you, Perez. Ours too at Court TV. As you know, as our cameras filming this, we did the gavel-to-gavel coverage, and I have to say, you, in my mind, are the godfather of influencing. I mean, you were doing influencing before influencing was even a thing. And so here with this new Netflix docuseries, there's such a focus on how the influencers presented the trial on TikTok and then the effect it had on people who would consume just little snippets of videos that might have been edited or have text over them and analysis to couple them. Curious what you think the effect was with that on the court of public opinion.
I think the effect was a very negative slant against Amber Heard because the pro Johnny Depp videos are the ones that garnered the most traction. And it makes sense to me. Johnny Depp has been in the public eye since the 80s. He is, or was, might still be beloved. And when you take on somebody on that level, it's really hard. It's one of the reasons why when you look at the case of Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, there have been allegations of violence against him, and it seems to not have affected him either because he too was and is and may still be beloved. And a lot of people that were misinformed were sharing their takes because they were getting views. Bingo. The Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial was good for business for not just traditional media, but for any single person who got an interest in it and started talking about it. TikTok accounts that weren't even discussing legal matters before that, all of a sudden we're discussing legal matters and every day and growing at rapid rates because of that.
Oh, you're absolutely right. That's an excellent point you make, Perez. And it was one that Netflix made in the docuseries, how these influencers were able to monetize this situation big time. And the Depp narrative was the more popular narrative. And you're right, it just really kind of overtook the world, the case, and the opinion of many in the public. Perez Hilton, I know all of our courties want to know the answer to this next question. What was your personal favorite moment of the trial?
My personal favorite moment was the birth and ascension of Johnny Depp's lawyer, Camille Vasquez. I think she really won him that trial. And obviously Johnny Depp's money won him that trial. He was able to get more seasoned, just better attorneys that presented the argument better and sealed the deal. But it's been wonderful to pay attention to her and see all of the other things that she's been up to since that trial and who she's representing. And I'm excited to continue to follow her career as a Latina and just a strong woman.
Sure. Tell us, Perez, I know you're also following the careers of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, of course, and what they're up to. I think a lot of people are wondering tonight, what are they up to since the big trial?
Well, Johnny Depp has been on tour. He's in a band, and they've been playing rock and roll music all over the world. And Amber Heard has been, I wouldn't say hiding out, but she's been perhaps better to say laying low, trying to live a normal life in Spain.
Wow.
And the local media in Spain has treated her like an A-lister, and some might say been hounding her. But from the videos that I've seen, the paparazzi clips, even traditional media showing up at Amber Heard's place where she's living in Spain, and she's been very gracious, and she speaks fluent Spanish, so it makes sense for her to be in Spain. And hopefully she can be the best mother that she can there with less distraction. And I believe that everybody deserves an opportunity to be better and do better. And I'm not saying I'm pro Amber or pro Johnny. All I'm saying is everybody deserves an opportunity to be better and do better.
You're absolutely right. That is the perfect note to end the interview on. Thank you so much for that. Perez Hilton, what a treat it was to have you tonight on Closing Arguments. Thank you so much. We hope to have you back again soon.
Absolutely.